General Kang Bo-ra stood in the war room looking at the biggest star map she had ever seen. Red dots showed Kravik worlds, blue dots showed human fleets, and in the center a massive red cluster showed where Emperor Zekthal was gathering his final army. 5,000 ships, she said quietly. They're putting everything they have into one last battle. Admiral Cho nodded. They think if they can destroy us, they can prove their way of life is still right. Can they destroy us? Asked Captain Oh Tae-young. Dr. Shin Woo-jin looked up from his computer. Not with weapons. But 5,000 ships could overwhelm us through sheer numbers. Then we don't fight them with weapons, General Kang said. Everyone looked at her. We fight them with something they've never faced before. Which is? Life itself. The plan General Kang presented was unlike anything in military history. Instead of trying to destroy the Kravik fleet, they would transform the Kravik worlds, not with bombs or weapons, but with the most terrifying thing the Kravik could imagine, biological life. We're going to terraform their worlds, she explained. Introduce Earth bacteria, weather systems, and atmospheric changes. Turn their clean, sterile planets into living worlds. Captain Song shook her head. That's not warfare. That's the most effective weapon we have, Dr. Shin said. The Kravik can't psychologically handle environmental chaos. If we introduce natural weather and biological systems to their worlds, their entire society will collapse. Engineer Ryu Minho was already working on the technical details. We have atmospheric processors designed for terraforming new human colonies. We can modify them to work faster. How much faster? Admiral Cho asked. Instead of taking 50 years to terraform a world, we can do it in 50 days. Commander Li Huan, who had first detected the Valari message, was now helping coordinate the terraforming mission. Sir, is this right? We're not destroying their worlds. We're making them better. That's the point, General Kang said. We're not trying to kill them. We're trying to force them to evolve, to learn what real strength is. The terraforming fleet was unlike anything humans had ever built. Ships full of Earth bacteria, weather-making machines, and atmospheric processors. Dr. Shin called it weaponized evolution. Captain Song led the first terraforming mission to the Kravik world of pure crystal. The planet was exactly what she expected. Perfectly clean, no weather, sterile air, and cities made of glass and metal. Beginning atmospheric introduction, reported atmospheric engineer Kim Hyo-jin. The human ships released Earth-normal atmosphere into pure crystal sky. Within hours, clouds began forming. Within days, it rained for the first time in the planet's history. The effect on the Kravik population was immediate and devastating. Kravik citizens began having what humans would call panic attacks. The sight of clouds moving across the sky terrified them. The sound of rain on their buildings made them hide in underground shelters. They're not hurt, Dr. Kim Yuna reported after monitoring Kravik biological signs. They're just terrified. They've never seen natural weather before. But the real psychological impact came when Earth bacteria began establishing ecosystems. The human ships had released millions of types of Earth microorganisms. These tiny forms of life began growing in the new atmosphere. They started breaking down sterile Kravik surfaces and creating soil. They made the air smell different. They introduced the concept of biological decay and renewal. To humans, this was just normal life. To the Kravik, it was cosmic horror. Intelligence officer Choi Min-jung intercepted frantic Kravik communications from the planet's surface. They're saying their world is infected with chaos, she reported. They're begging Emperor Zekthal to save them from the spreading madness of biological existence. The same process began on 12 other Kravik worlds. Each planet that humans life-bombed became uninhabitable for Kravik psychology, even though it was perfectly safe for Kravik bodies. Emperor Zekthal watched his empire falling apart, not from destruction, but from transformation. How do we fight this? He asked his military advisors. We can't, my emperor. They're not attacking us. They're changing what it means to exist on our worlds. The human terraforming ships were protected by the main battle fleet, but the Kravik seemed afraid to attack them directly. Shooting at ships that were creating life instead of destroying it somehow felt wrong, even to a conquering species. Major Lim Kyung-ho studied the Kravik fleet movements and made a disturbing discovery. They're not trying to stop the terraforming, he reported to Admiral Cho. They're just watching it happen. Why? I think they're fascinated. Horrified, but fascinated. They've never seen anything create complexity instead of simplicity. Dr. Shin was monitoring the biological changes on the transformed worlds. The terraforming is working better than we hoped. Earth bacteria are adapting to local conditions and creating new types of ecosystems. These worlds are becoming more alive than they've ever been. But the most important change was happening in Kravik psychology. Some Kravik, especially younger ones, began staying on the transformed worlds instead of fleeing. They watched the clouds move and the rain fall. They saw plants beginning to grow in what used to be sterile soil. They're learning, Dr. Kim Yuna observed. Some of them are starting to understand that chaos and life aren't the same thing as weakness. This created a civil war within Kravik society. The older Kravik, led by Emperor Zekthul, insisted that sterile perfection was the only way to live. The younger Kravik began to question this belief. The final confrontation came when Emperor Zekthul led his 5,000 ships to Earth's solar system. If we destroy their home world, he broadcast to his fleet, we prove that Deathworlds cannot triumph over perfection. But when the Kravik fleet reached Earth's solar system, they found something they did not expect. Valari ships were there, flying alongside human ships, water-breathing aliens working with air-breathing aliens. Two different Deathworld species united by their shared understanding that survival made you strong, not weak. Elder Silthera sent a message to Emperor Zekthul. Her words were translated into Kravik language. Great Emperor, we offer you a choice. You can continue to fight against life itself, or you can learn what we learned. That the universe is dangerous and beautiful, and surviving in it is what makes existence meaningful. Emperor Zekthul looked at Earth on his main screen. The blue and white planet swirled with storms and weather. It looked chaotic and terrifying to his sterile world eyes. That world should be impossible to live on, he said. But it isn't. Admiral Cho's voice came over the communication system, and the people who live on it became strong enough to cross the galaxy to help strangers. Can your perfect world say the same? For the first time in his life, Emperor Zekthul had no answer. The great battle that should have decided the war never happened. Instead, something unprecedented occurred. Half of the Kravik fleet turned around and left. They went back to their transformed worlds to learn how to live with weather and biological chaos. The other half stayed with Emperor Zekthul, but they didn't attack. They just sat in space watching Earth spin with its impossible storms and impossible life. What happens now? Captain Song asked Admiral Cho. Admiral Cho looked at the Kravik fleet, then at Earth, then at the Valari ships flying peacefully nearby. Now we see if they can learn to be strong the way we learned to be strong. The war was over, but the real test was just beginning. Admiral Cho Sung-min looked at the star map in his command room. The Kravik had run away from the Valari homeworld, but they had not gone far. They were gathering their forces at 3 different star systems, preparing for a bigger fight. They have more ships coming, reported Intelligence Officer Choi Min-jung. Maybe 1,000 ships total. Good, said Admiral Cho. That means we can finish this war quickly instead of chasing them around the galaxy for years. Colonel Bay. Su Young stood next to the star map. She was ready for ground fighting if needed. Admiral, the Kravik don't understand something important. What's that, Colonel? They think war only happens in space. They don't know how to fight on planets, Admiral Cho smiled. Humans fought everywhere. Space, air, land, underwater, underground. Earth had taught them that survival meant being able to fight in any condition. Show me what you have in mind, he said. Colonel Bay pointed to the star map. The Kravik are using these 3 systems as bases. They built their command centers on the planets thinking they're safe there. And they're not safe? Not from us. Human Marines can fight anywhere. The Kravik have never seen planetary assault before. Captain Oh Tae-young joined the conversation. Colonel Bay is right. I've been studying Kravik tactics. They only fight ship to ship. They've never had anyone attack their ground bases. Because most species can't survive on other planets, Admiral Cho said, understanding. But we can. We can survive anywhere, Colonel Bay said. And that means we can attack anywhere. The plan they made was simple but devastating. The human fleet would split into 3 groups. Each group would attack 1 Kravik base system. But they wouldn't just fight in space, Captain. Song Ji-eun would lead the first attack group to the Kravik base at Helix Prime. The planet was a desert world with acid storms and no atmosphere that normal life could breathe. Perfect. said Captain Song when she heard about the planet. My crew trained on New Sahara. Acid storms are just Tuesday for us. Major Lim Kyung-ho would coordinate orbital attacks with ground forces. His job was to make sure the space battle and ground battle worked together. The first attack began at dawn, Earth time. Iron Busan and 50 other human ships appeared in the Helix Prime system. The Kravik fleet was waiting for them. 300 Kravik ships against 50 human ships, sir, said the Kravik commander Zekmoth to his admiral. The humans are outnumbered 6-1. This will be easy. Admiral Vexkul was not so sure. The reports from the first battle were confusing. Human ships that couldn't be damaged. Human weapons that worked when they shouldn't. Attack carefully. Something is wrong with these creatures. The space battle began the same way as the first one. Kravik weapons couldn't hurt human ships. Human weapons destroyed Kravik ships easily. But this time something different happened. 20 human ships suddenly dove toward the planet. Where are they going? Zekmoth asked. Following them into atmosphere, Admiral Vexkul ordered. This was a mistake. Kravik ships were built for clean space. When they entered the planet's atmosphere, the acid storms began eating their hulls. The high gravity made their engines work badly. The electromagnetic storms confused their navigation. Human ships worked perfectly. They were built to handle Earth's weather, which was worse than anything on Helix Prime. Sir, Zekmoth's voice was panicked. We're losing ships to the planet itself. Pull back to space. But it was too late. The human ships reached the planet's surface and began landing near the Kravik base. Colonel Bae Soo-young led the first ground assault in human history against an alien military base. Her Marines came from New Sahara, New Venus, and New Hell. They were used to fighting in acid, poison gas, and radiation. The Kravik base was built underground to protect it from the planet's acid storms. The Kravik soldiers inside wore special suits to protect them from their own world's atmosphere. Sergeant Jang Ha-Nul and her squad found the main entrance to the base. It was sealed tight. How do we get in? Asked one of her Marines. Sergeant Jang looked at the entrance, then at the acid storm raging around them. Human armor protected them from the acid, but Kravik equipment couldn't handle it. We don't break in, she said. We let the planet do it for us. Her squad used their weapons to crack the base's outer seal. Acid from the storm began leaking into the Kravik base. Inside the base, alarms started screaming. The Kravik soldiers panicked as acid began eating through their equipment. Their air recycling systems failed. Their computers stopped working. What's happening? The base commander demanded. The humans. They're using the planet against us. This was not a type of warfare the Kravik understood. They thought war was about who had bigger guns and more ships. They never imagined that the environment itself could be a weapon. Colonel Bae and her Marines entered the base wearing their standard human armor. To them, the acid leaking in was just a minor inconvenience. They had trained in much worse conditions. The Kravik soldiers couldn't fight effectively. Their equipment was failing, their air was running out, and they had never trained for combat in hostile environments. The battle for the base was over in 2 hours. Meanwhile, in space, Captain Song was learning something interesting about Kravik psychology. Captain, said Communications Officer Park Dong-woo, I'm getting panic signals from the Kravik fleet. They're not just afraid of losing. They're afraid of the idea that we can fight on planets. What do you mean? They keep saying impossible and not real warfare. I think they literally cannot understand what we're doing. Engineer Ryu Minho was monitoring the battle from his engineering station. Captain, I'm seeing something strange. When Kravik ships get damaged, they don't try to repair themselves. They just give up. Why would they do that? Because they've never had to fix things under pressure. When you live on clean, safe worlds, your equipment never breaks. You don't learn to improvise. Captain Song thought about this. Human ships carried spare parts, backup systems, and repair tools for everything. Human engineers could fix almost anything using whatever materials they could find. Because Earth had taught humans that things always broke at the worst possible time. They don't know how to adapt, she said. No, ma'am. And adaptation is what humans do best. The second and third attacks went the same way. Captain Oh Tae-young led the attack on the water world of Aqua Rex. Lieutenant Colonel Yu Hai-jin took his Marines underwater and attacked the Kravik base from below. The Kravik had never imagined that anyone could fight underwater. Engineer Ryu Minho led the attack on the ice world of Frozen Death. He didn't even need Marines. He just introduced Earth-normal atmosphere into the Kravik base. The moisture in normal air froze their equipment and made their computers stop working. After 3 days, all 3 Kravik bases were captured or destroyed. The Kravik fleet was scattered and running, but the most important victory was psychological. Intelligence Officer Choi Min-jung intercepted Kravik communications. They were not talking about losing ships or bases. They were talking about something else. They're afraid, she reported to Admiral Cho. Not just afraid of dying. They're afraid of us. They keep saying we're impossible and against the natural order. Admiral Cho understood. The Kravik had built their whole civilization on the idea that clean, safe worlds produced the strongest species. The idea that dangerous worlds could make people stronger was terrifying to them. They thought the universe worked one way, he said. We're showing them they were wrong. The war was almost over. But the most important battle was still to come. Deep in Kravik space, Emperor Zekthul was gathering the largest fleet in Kravik history. He was going to throw everything he had at the humans, not because he thought he could win, but because the alternative was admitting that everything the Kravik believed about strength and survival was wrong. And that was something he could not do. The human fleet moved through space like a metal storm, 300 ships flying together toward the Andromeda sector. Captain Song Ji-eun stood on the bridge of her ship Iron Busan, watching the stars ahead. 2 days until we reach Valari space, her navigation officer reported. Captain Song nodded. She had fought many battles but never won this far from home. Never one to help aliens she had never met. But when innocent people needed help, humans came. That was who they were. Captain, said Communications Officer Park Dong-woo, I'm getting signals from ahead. Multiple ships. Kravik? Yes, ma'am. Looks like a patrol fleet. 12 ships. Captain Song smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. Open a channel to Admiral Cho. Admiral Cho's face appeared on the screen. He was commanding the fleet from the flagship New Seoul. What's the situation, Captain? Kravik patrol ahead, sir. 12 ships. They've seen us. Perfect. Let's say hello. Admiral Cho turned to his communications officer. Send the message we prepared. The message had been written by Ambassador Nam Jun-soo and translated by Park Dong-woo. It was polite but clear. The humans wanted the Kravik to stop attacking the Valari and leave their space. If they did not, there would be consequences. Park Dong-woo broadcast the message in perfect Kravik language. He had learned their language in just 2 weeks. Human brains were very good at learning new things quickly. The Kravik response came back fast. The voice was cold and proud. Soft flesh beings from another death world. You barely qualify as intelligent life. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed like the water crawlers we are harvesting. Captain Song felt her anger rise. The Kravik called the Valari water crawlers like they were animals. They called humans soft flesh beings like being alive was something to be ashamed of. Admiral, she said, permission to show them how wrong they are. Granted. But try not to destroy them all. We need some left to tell the others what happened. The Kravik commander was named Vexhai. He looked at the human ships on his screen and felt confused. The ships were strange. They had thick armor and strange designs. They didn't look like any ships he had seen before. What kind of species builds ships like that? His weapon officer asked. Primitive death world species, Vexhai said. They probably don't even know how to fight in space. The Kravik ships were beautiful and clean. They were built for fighting in perfect conditions in empty space. Their weapons were powerful electromagnetic beams that could cut through normal ship armor like paper. The first Kravik ship fired at Iron Busan. The electromagnetic beam hit the human ship and did nothing. Nothing at all, Vexhai stared at his screen. Fire again. 3 more Kravik ships fired. Their beams hit the human ships and bounced off like raindrops. Captain Song shook her head. Their weapons don't work. They really have never fought anyone from a dangerous world. Major Lim Kyung-ho was the fleet's tactical expert. He studied the Kravik ships for 30 seconds and then laughed. Their weapons only work in sterile space. Human ships are built to operate in Earth's magnetic field. Kravik weapons can't even scratch us. What about our weapons? Captain Song asked. We'll work perfectly. Human weapons work everywhere. The Iron Busan fired 1 shot. The plasma cannon, designed to work underwater or in a sandstorm, hit the Kravik ship and cut it in half. The other Kravik ships began firing desperately. Dozens of electromagnetic beams hit the human ships and did nothing. The human ships began firing back. It was over in 5 minutes. 11 Kravik ships were destroyed. One was left drifting in space, its engines gone but its crew alive. Captain Song opened a channel to the surviving Kravik ship. "Kravik vessel, do you still think we're primitive?" There was no answer. Admiral Cho's voice came over the fleet communication system. "All ships continue to Valari space. Let's go meet our new friends." The human fleet reached the Valari homeworld 6 hours later. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans covered everything, with huge storms swirling through the atmosphere. It looked like Earth, but with more water and bigger storms, it also looked like a war zone. Kravik ships surrounded the planet. They were firing down at the ocean, trying to destroy the underwater Valari cities. Burning pieces of metal floated on the surface where Kravik weapons had hit Valari ships. "How many Kravik ships?" Admiral Cho asked. 200, sir," reported the sensor officer. "And how many Valari ships are still fighting?" "Maybe 30. They're hiding in the deep ocean." Admiral Cho felt his anger grow. The Kravik had 10 times more ships, but they were still attacking a peaceful people who just wanted to be left alone. "All ships," he broadcast to the human fleet. "Attack formation. Show them what happens when you hurt innocent people." The human ships spread out and began their attack. The Kravik ships tried to fight back, but their weapons still didn't work against human armor. Human weapons, designed to work in any condition, destroyed Kravik ships easily. But the real surprise came when Major Lim Kyung-ho tried something new. "Captain Song," he said, "try firing your weapons underwater." "Underwater?" "The Valari are down there. Maybe we can help them directly." Iron Busan dove into the ocean. The ship was designed to operate underwater if needed. Most alien ships could never do this, but humans built their ships to work anywhere. Under the water, Captain Song found Valari cities. They were beautiful, made of coral and crystal. But they were also damaged. Kravik underwater weapons had broken many buildings. She also found Valari people. They looked like a cross between dolphins and humans. They had 4 arms, big eyes, and skin that changed color when they were excited or afraid. When they saw the human ship, their skin turned bright yellow with surprise. Dr. Kim Yuna was the fleet's medical officer. She was also an expert in first contact with new species. She used the ship's communication system to try talking to the Valari. The Valari language was partly sound and partly color changes in their skin. Dr. Kim had studied the recordings from the original message, so she knew some basic words. "We are humans," she said, making the words appear as colored lights outside the ship. "We got your message. We came to help." The Valari response was immediate. Their skin flashed bright blue and green, which meant joy and gratitude. A large Valari swam up to the ship. This was Elder Silthara, one of the Valari leaders. She spoke in colors and sounds, Dr. Kim translated. She says, "Thank you for coming." She says they thought they were going to die. Captain Song felt her heart break a little. These people had been so scared, so sure they were going to be destroyed. And they had sent out a message hoping anyone would care enough to help. "Tell her we do care," Captain Song said. "Tell her humans always help people who need help." Elder Silthara listened to the translation. Then her skin flashed with colors that Dr. Kim had never seen before. "What does that mean?" Captain Song asked. Dr. Kim was quiet for a moment. I think it means hope." "She's showing hope." Elder Silthara swam closer to the ship. She pressed one of her 4 hands against the hull, right where Captain Song was standing on the other side. Through the translation system, she asked a question that made everyone on the ship stop and think. "Your species, you come from a world that tried to kill you every day, didn't you? And you survived by becoming stronger than the world itself." Captain Song thought about Earth, about hurricanes and earthquakes and volcanoes, about humanity learning to build stronger houses, better medicine, faster ships, about never giving up no matter how hard things got. "Yes," she said finally, "that's exactly what we did." Elder Silthara's skin flashed with colors of understanding and respect. "Then you understand us." "And we understand you?" "Deathworld children, both of us. Strong because we had to be." Above them, the battle in space was ending. The Kravik fleet was running away, their ships broken and their confidence destroyed. The humans had come to help the Valari, and they had done exactly that. But this was just the beginning. Admiral Cho Sung-min stood in the big meeting room on Luna Base. Around the table sat the most important people in human space. They had all come quickly when they heard about the alien message. General Kang Bo-ra hit the table with her fist. "We have to help them right now. Every minute we wait, more Velari die. Ambassador Nam Junsu shook his head. We should try talking first. Maybe we can make peace between the Kravik and Velari without fighting. Peace? General Kangbora stood up. They're killing innocent people. You don't make peace with murderers. Dr. Shinwoo Jin, the alien life expert, looked up from his computer. I've been studying the information about the Kravik. I think I know why they act this way. Everyone turned to look at him. Dr. Shin was very smart about alien biology. If anyone could understand the Kravik, it was him. The Kravik are silicon-based life, not carbon like us. They evolved on worlds with no weather, low gravity, and very clean air. They've never seen rainstorms or earthquakes. So, General Kangbora asked, so they don't understand how life can survive in difficult places. To them, any world with weather is impossible to live on. They think anyone who lives on such worlds must be weak and stupid. Admiral Cho thought about this. They don't know that difficult worlds make strong people. Exactly, Dr. Shin said. The Kravik have never had to adapt to anything. Their worlds never change. They never had to become stronger or smarter to survive. Ambassador Nam Junsu leaned forward. Maybe we can teach them. Show them that different doesn't mean weak. General Kangbora made a rude sound. While they're killing the Velari. No. We teach them by showing them what Deathworld species can really do. Admiral Cho raised his hand for quiet. Both of you are right. We'll try talking, but we'll also be ready to fight. He turned to Captain Otae Young. How many ships can you get ready? Captain Otae Young was the best fleet commander in human space. He had fought pirates and rebels for 20 years. Give me 2 weeks and I can have 300 ships ready to go. 300? Ambassador Nam Junsu looked surprised. Isn't that too many? The Kravik have been conquering worlds for 50 years, Captain O said. They have thousands of ships, but they've never fought anyone who fought back hard. Admiral Cho nodded. Who do you want to command the ships? Captain O smiled. Colonel Bae Soo Young for ground forces. She grew up on New Mars where the air can kill you. Major Lim Kyung Ho for tactics. He's the smartest military mind we have. And Captain Song Ji-eun for the main attack force. Everyone knew Captain Song Ji-eun. Her ship Iron Busan had never lost a battle. She was famous for winning fights that should have been impossible. What about equipment? General Kangbora asked. Engineer Ryu Min-ho spoke up. He designed most of humanity's war machines. Our ships are already perfect for this fight. We built them to work in Earth's magnetic storms and solar radiation. Kravik weapons won't even scratch them. How do you know? Admiral Cho asked. Because Kravik technology is made for clean, safe space. Their weapons only work in perfect conditions. Human weapons work anywhere. Underwater, in storms, in radiation, in the middle of a volcano if we need them to. Dr. Shin looked at his notes. The Kravik have never fought in atmosphere. They don't know how to fight on planets with weather. Their soldiers can't even breathe normal air. Then we fight them everywhere they can't handle, General Kangbora said. In the air, underwater, in storms. Admiral Cho stood up. It's decided. We help the Velari. Captain O, start gathering the fleet. Colonel Bae, get your Marines ready. Ambassador Nam, prepare a message for the Kravik. We'll give them one chance to stop. As the meeting ended, news about the Velari spread across human space. The alien message was broadcast on every station, every colony world, every ship. Humans everywhere had the same reaction. Someone was hurting innocent people. That could not be allowed. Sergeant Jang Ha-nul was working on New Jeju when she heard the message. New Jeju is a volcano world where it rained lava sometimes. She and her Marines were used to impossible conditions. When the call for volunteers came, her whole unit signed up in 5 minutes. Pilot Lee So-young was flying cargo runs through the methane storms of New Titan. The storms were so bad that most alien species couldn't even imagine them. But for her, it was just another day at work. She volunteered to lead a fighter squadron. All across human space, the same thing happened. People who lived in places that would kill most aliens volunteered to help other people who lived in dangerous places. Captain Otae Young watched the volunteer lists grow. In 3 days, he had enough people for 1,000 ships. Humans from ice worlds, desert worlds, high-gravity worlds, toxic atmosphere worlds. Every type of dangerous place that humans had learned to call home. We don't need 1,000 ships, his assistant said. No, Captain O agreed. But it's good to know we could get them. Engineer Ryu Min-ho worked day and night preparing the fleet. Human technology was different from most alien technology. Where other races built things to work in perfect conditions, Humans built things to work when everything went wrong. Human ships had 3 backup systems for every important part. Human weapons could fire underwater, in vacuum, in acid rain, or inside a sandstorm. Human armor could protect against heat, cold, radiation, and poison gas all at the same time. "Why do we build everything so tough?" a young engineer asked. "Because Earth taught us that everything breaks eventually," Ryu Minho said. "So we build things that keep working even when they're broken." Dr. Shin Woo-jin studied more information about the Kravik and Valari. The Valari were peaceful but strong. They had survived on their water world for millions of years. They built beautiful cities underwater and made art from sea crystals. The Kravik were different. They had easy lives on clean, safe worlds. When they needed something, they took it from other races. They had never learned to build or create, only to take. "The Kravik don't understand what they're fighting," Dr. Shin told Admiral Cho. "They think the Valari are weak because they live underwater and deal with storms. They don't understand that surviving those things made the Valari strong. And they have no idea what humans are," Admiral Cho said. "None at all. To the Kravik, we're just another Death World species. They probably think we'll be as easy to beat as they thought the Valari would be." Admiral Cho looked out the window at Earth. The blue world looked peaceful, but he knew better. Hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, floods, droughts, ice ages. Earth had tried to kill humans for thousands of years, and humans had not just survived. They had thrived. They had turned Earth's anger into their strength. "The Kravik are about to learn something," Admiral Cho said. "What's that, sir?" "Death worlds don't make you weak. They make you unstoppable." The lights on the control panel blinked slowly in the quiet space station. Commander Li Huan sat in his chair, watching the endless stars through the big window. The station called New Seoul floated far above Earth, listening to the universe. Li Huan had been doing this job for 10 years. Every day was the same. Check signals from space. Make sure nothing dangerous was coming toward Earth. Write reports that nobody read. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. "Commander," said Park Mira from her desk. She was young and always excited about new signals. "I'm getting something strange." Li Huan turned his chair toward her. "What kind of strange?" "It's very weak. Coming from the Andromeda sector." Park Mira pressed buttons on her machine. "But it's not natural. Someone is sending this." The Andromeda sector was far away, so far that it took light years to reach Earth. Nobody lived there, at least nobody that humans knew about. "Are you sure it's not just space noise?" Li Huan stood up and walked to her station. "No, sir. Listen to this." Park Mira played the sound through the speakers. The sound was soft and sad. It went up and down like music, but it was not music. It sounded like someone crying. Someone asking for help. Kim Dae-ho looked up from his computer. He was the station's language expert. His job was to understand alien messages if they ever got any. That's definitely made by intelligent life. "But it's not like any language I know. Can you decode it?" Li Huan asked. Kim Dae-ho shook his head. "I need Dr. Yoon. She knows more about alien languages than anyone." Dr. Yoon Hye-jin worked in the lower part of the station. She spent most of her time studying old alien signals that never meant anything. When they called her, she came up quickly. "Play it again," she said. Her eyes were bright with interest. They played the signal 5 times. Dr. Yoon wrote notes and drew pictures. She muttered to herself in Korean and English. "This is amazing," she finally said. "It's a mathematical language. They're using numbers and patterns to talk." "What are they saying?" Li Huan asked. Dr. Yoon worked for 2 hours. She wrote equations on a big whiteboard. She drew circles and lines. Finally, she turned around with a serious face. "They're asking for help. Their world is being attacked. Their people are dying." She paused. "They're called the Valari." The room became very quiet. This was the first time humans had ever gotten a real message from aliens, and it was a cry for help. "There's more," Dr. Yoon continued. "They mention their attackers. A race called the Kravik. The message says the Kravik think the Valari world is a death world, and the Valari are weak because they live there." Park Mira made a sound of surprise. "Death world. But humans live on a death world too." That was true. Other alien races they had met before called Earth a death world. Most planets in the galaxy were calm and safe. Earth had earthquakes, storms, volcanoes, and dangerous animals. Most aliens could not survive on Earth for even 1 day. "The Valari are like us," Kim Dae-ho said slowly. "They survived on a dangerous planet. That made them strong." Li Huan thought about this. If Earth was a death world and the Valari world was also a death world, maybe humans and Valari were similar. Maybe they could help each other. I need to call Admiral Cho, Li Huan said. Admiral Cho Sung-min was the head of Earth's space military. He was a smart man who had fought in 3 wars. When Li Huan called him, Admiral Cho listened carefully to the whole story. "Send me everything," Admiral Cho said. "The signal, the translation, all of it." "What should we do, sir?" Li Huan asked. "We help them," Admiral Cho said without thinking about it. "If someone attacks innocent people, we stop them. That's what humans do." After the call ended, Dr. Yoon kept working on the signal. She found more information hidden in the message. The Valari lived on a water world with high gravity and violent storms. Their cities were underwater. They breathed water like fish but were smart like humans. The Kravik were different. They came from dry, clean worlds with no weather. They had never seen rain or storms. They thought planets with weather were too dangerous to live on. But they wanted the metals and crystals under the Valari seas. "The Kravik don't understand," Dr. Yoon said. "They think living on a dangerous world makes you weak. They think the Valari will be easy to defeat." Park Mira laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. "They've never met humans, have they?" Kim Dae-ho was looking at star maps. "The Andromeda sector is very far away. It would take our fastest ships months to get there." "Then we better start now," Li Huan said. He sent his report to Admiral Cho. In the report, he wrote that humans should help the Valari, not because they had to, but because it was right. The Kravik thought Death World species were weak. They were wrong. Humans had lived on Earth for thousands of years. Earth tried to kill humans every day with storms, earthquakes, diseases, and wild animals. But humans did not die. They got stronger. They learned to build houses that could survive earthquakes. They learned to make medicine to fight diseases. They learned to predict storms and hide from them. Humans became the strongest species in the galaxy, not by being born strong, but by surviving on the most dangerous world anyone had ever found. Admiral Cho called back in 1 hour. "Li Huan," he said. "How fast can you get that signal translated into all human languages?" "A few hours, sir. Why?" "Because I'm going to broadcast it to every human colony, every ship, every station. Everyone needs to hear this. What are you planning, Admiral?" Admiral Cho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "The Kravik think one Death World species is weak. Wait until they meet the Death World species that conquered their planet, instead of just surviving on it." After Admiral Cho ended the call, Li Huan looked out the window at Earth. The blue and white planet looked peaceful from space. But he knew what was down there. Volcanoes that could destroy entire cities, storms that could sink ships, deserts that could kill you in hours, and humans who had turned all of that into their home. The Valari needed help. The humans were coming.